Okay, here we go. This is the Lord of the Rings card game, and I'm going to take us through a few rounds solo style to show the mechanics and how it works, to hit the ground running more quickly when playing. So I'm mostly set up here for the start of the game. In the game, each player has a deck as well as 3 heroes that they play as. So here I've got Aragorn, Theodred, and Glóin. And my deck of player cards that is shuffled and ready to draw from. Each player also has this threat dial that starts at a certain value equal to the total of the 3 numbers at the top of the heroes. So mine are 29, so it starts at 29. And then we have the encounter deck. And these quest cards that are it's basically the scenario we have to go through in order to win. So how do you win? As long as at least one player is still in the game and gets through the final quest card of the scenario, all players win the game. How do you lose? If all players' heroes are all killed, or if all players' threat dials hit 50. Those are the 2 ways to lose. If one player hits 50 or all their heroes dies, they're out of the game, but the game still keeps going as long as at least one player is left standing. Each quest card will give us certain things we have to accomplish in order to advance to the next quest card. So that's kind of how it goes. The only thing I have not done, I do have my starting hand. The deck is made up of allies, events, and attachments. So attachments that we can bring in and give to heroes or allies to make them stronger, events that we can play when appropriate, and allies we bring in to help do the things we have to do. So the only thing I have not done for setup is the instructions on the first quest card. I'm not going to read all the story and flavor text here. I'll just go through what it tells. It tells us I need to search the encounter deck for 1 copy of Forest Spider and 1 copy of Old Forest Road and add them to the staging area. So this will be what we call the staging area, and it's where cards come out of the encounter deck that we have to deal with. So I'm looking for Old Forest Road and Forest Spider. So here's an Old Forest Road, and there's a Forest Spider. Look at that. So I add those to what we call the staging area, and then I reshuffle the encounter deck and place it there. Once the setup is complete, I flip that quest card, and it's going to tell me if I need to do anything, if any certain rules apply to this phase of the quest or anything like that. And we're going to see that there is this number 8 right here, this red 8. That stands for progress tokens. These here, these little footprint tokens are progress tokens, and we're going to earn those placed on here, and we need to get 8 progress tokens on here in order to advance the quest. So that's our goal to begin with. That's the setup. Now, cooperative, this is always a cooperative game, and multiplayer 2 to 4 operates more or less the same way as if you're playing solo. There's just certain keywords and things, and the order that things happen change when you play with more than one player. But for simplicity's sake, we're going to go through this solo. So the rounds are made up of phases, and the first phase we have is the resource phase. In the resource phase, we do 2 things. Each player's heroes each get 1 resource token. This is currency. It's money we're going to use to play cards. Characters, allies that we bring in do not get those, just the 3 heroes. Or if 1 dies, the 2 remaining heroes. So that's the first thing that happens. Then you draw a card from your player deck. Those are the 2 things that occur in the resource phase. Simple as that. After we've done that, we go on to the planning phase, where we play attachments and allies from our hand using these resources. Now, there's these symbols at the bottom of our cards, and this stands for the leadership. These are called spheres of influence, and there's leadership, tactics, lore, and spirit. And the idea is that you can only pay for cards of that symbol with resources from a hero with that symbol. However, this whole deck is leadership, so the resources can pay for any cards in this deck. But if you mixed it with 2 or 3 different spheres of influence, if these had different spheres of influence, they couldn't all pay for the same cards. They have to match what's on the leader who has the resource. But that's irrelevant when we're playing with a monosphere deck with only one kind. So I look through my starting hand, and I have 3 resources to spend. Now, there are abilities on the heroes as well as on the allies that we want to be familiar with that might help us determine how we're spending our resources. For instance, I know that Aragorn has an ability that is going to want me to have a resource token on him, if possible, beyond this phase. So I might not spend that. So let's just say I've got this Valiant Sword card, which can add some attack value to a hero, and that only costs 1 resource token. So I'm going to pay 1 resource token to attach Valiant Sword to Aragorn. Simple as that. Okay, and this planning phase is the only time we can play attachments and allies. The other thing I'm going to bring in, I have this Snowborn Scout, who also only costs 1 resource token. So he's an ally, and I'm going to bring him in for another 1 resource. And he has some text that says, after Snowborn Scout enters play, choose a location, place 1 progress token on that location. Now, this is interesting. It's just, it does not say that it has to be, and I know this doesn't make sense yet. We're gonna have active locations and we're gonna have locations in the staging area. It doesn't specify. So while this doesn't make sense necessarily why I'm doing this or how it affects anything, when he enters play, choose a location. Old Forest Road is a location. Place 1 progress token on it. So I'm gonna do that because he entered play, so I get to put that there. And that is helpful. It's a good thing. It'll become clearer how in very, very short while. Okay, now this one I'm going to leave here, so that's all I'm doing for the planning phase. I'm going to leave that resource. I gave an attachment to Aragorn. I brought in Snowborn Scout, a little bit stronger now in a couple of ways, and that's good. That's the planning phase, simple as that. Then we go on to the quest phase. This is interesting. So you'll see that on these cards, we have 3 different symbols. We have this round circular kind of symbol, we have the weapon symbol, and then the shield. And these stand for willpower, attack, and defense. So the quest phase is where we commit to the quest using our willpower. And when a character commits to a quest, attacks, or defends, they exhaust, as we do in many games like this. And when they're exhausted, they can't be used. The idea here is we want to have more spirit committed to the quest, or I'm sorry, willpower committed to the quest than we have threat in the staging area. So this top symbol, they also have these monsters in the staging area have attack and defense, but also have this symbol instead of willpower. This is threat. Okay, similar to our threat dial. So we want more willpower committed to the quest than there is threat in the staging area. We currently have 3, 1 on Old Forest Road and 2 on Forest Spider. So we definitely want more than 3. The idea is at the end of the quest phase, if we have more willpower committed to the quest than there is threat, the difference is placed in progress tokens on here. And that's how we get to this 8 that advances the quest. However, if there's more threat up here than there is willpower committed down here, the difference comes in the form of increasing our threat dial closer to that deadly 50. So that's how that works. Well, you might say that's easy. We find 4 willpower here and commit it to the quest. However, once we have committed all our characters that we want to the quest, each player is then going to add a card from the encounter deck to the staging area, and that threat gets added on. So there's a bit of a gamble here. If we commit them to the quest, we probably can't use them to attack and defend later because they are exhausted. So we don't want to just commit everyone, because then we lay ourselves open to attack and we can't take care of monsters and do other things. But we also don't want to keep them all readied and not exhausted, because then our threat's going to go up. So it's a little bit of a gamble. Now, Snowboard Scout has 0 willpower, 0 attack, so he is mostly just good for defense and not very good. He only has 1 defense and only 1 HP. This is the health of each character. So you can see we've got 4, 4, 5, and this guy's a lowly 1. But Aragorn has this ability that I knew about. So I'm going to commit him to the quest, and he has 2 willpower. But he also has this ability that reads, after Aragorn commits to a quest, spend 1 resource from his resource pool. So it has to be on him to ready him. So he's exhausted, committing his 2 willpower to the quest. I spend the 1 resource and I ready him. He is still committed to the quest. This 2 willpower is still going towards it, but he is able to now do more in this round. He is not exhausted. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to also add... I'm going to add Glowin to the quest. He exhausts, and he does not have an ability like that. He has an ability, but it's not useful for this, and he adds another 2. So that gives us 4 willpower committed to the quest, and it's not great, but it's what I'm going to stop with right here. In a multiplayer game, we're going to have more players who can commit characters to the quest to add more willpower, but we're also going to have more cards added to the encounter deck. So that's how the game kind of scales with multiple players. So I have 4 committed to the quest, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. What I'm going to do now is, you know what? I'm going to take a little gamble here. I'm going to risk things. I'm going to commit Theodred to the quest as well. I'm going to exhaust him because he has an ability that says after he commits to a quest, I choose a hero who's already committed to the quest and add 1 resource to that hero's pool. So I can commit him to a quest to add a resource to Aragorn using that ability. It's a little dangerous because I don't know what's coming out of the encounter deck, and I've got 2 guys exhausted, but I have 2 here to work with. So we'll see how it plays out. So I now have, I currently have 3 threat up here and 5 willpower down here. So there's only 1 player, so I only reveal 1 card from the encounter deck. And look at that, it's another Old Forest Road. So we now have 4 threat in the staging area. And again, we have 5 willpower down here. That means a difference of 1 gives us not much, but it's better than nothing. 1 progress token on the quest card. That's the quest phase. Okay, that's it. Once the quest phase is done, we go on to what's called the engagement phase. And this is where we determine if actually, I'm sorry, I skipped a phase. We go to the travel phase. This is where we decide if we want to travel to any of the locations in the staging area. Well, these are both the same, and this one already has progress on it. So all we do to travel to a location is we take it from the staging area and we move it somewhere off to the side down here and show that this is the active location. What does that mean? It means that when we make progress, when we have more willpower than threat in the quest quest phase, first we have to clear the current location before progress can be placed on here. So now we only need 7 progress tokens on here to advance this card, but now this one calls for 3 progress tokens, and those have to be fulfilled before we can put any more on here. Now this already has 1, so it only needs 2 more. And this says, after you travel to Old Forest Road, the first player, I'm the only player, may choose and ready 1 character they control. Well, look at that. So suddenly I can choose one of these guys and ready them. So there we go. And in fact, I think I'm gonna ready him. There we go. I actually should have known that was coming. But I forgot about it because I haven't played the scenario in a while. So I would have been less hesitant about committing all these guys to the quest if I had thought about that. So there we go. So this needs 2 progress before we can place any more on here and work on advancing the quest deck. All right, now we go to the engagement phase and determine is anyone or any player is going to engage with any monsters up in the staging area. And first we can optionally engage. We can say, you know what, I can take this guy on, I'm gonna bring him in and he's gonna engage with me. We can do that. But if we don't, we still might be forced to. There is this cost right here, this engagement cost at the top of each monster, and this one is 25. And what we do is we compare that to our threat dial. And if the number here is equal to or lower than our threat, we engage. Well, my threat is 29, Forest Spider is 25, so he definitely engages with us. And then it says after Forest Spider engages a player, it gets an additional +1 attack until the end of the round. So not permanently, he is currently a 2 attack, but for this round only, he will be a 3 because he just engaged. Now, if I had optionally engaged with him, instead of waiting to check this engagement cost, it would still apply because the monster engaging me and me engaging the monster is synonymous. There is no, it's just a difference in wording. They mean the same thing. Okay, so he engages with me and there's no other monsters to deal with, so we don't have to worry about any more engagement. And with that, we move on to the combat phase. And this starts with monsters attacking the players. So the way we do this, there's a couple of steps to this. And it works a little differently if you have multiplayer, but the simple basic method of this is first we take one of these cards, the top card from the encounter deck, and we give it to each attacking monster. This is called a shadow card. All right, and what it's going to do, you'll actually see on Forest Spider, there's this line, and under it, it says shadow with some text. We ignore this unless it's being used as a shadow card. So Forest Spider is not being used as a shadow card. It's actually a monster that's engaged with the player, but this is being used as a shadow card. So when this flips, if there's one of these texts here, we pay attention to it, but we ignore everything above the line. So if it's a shadow card, you pay attention to shadow. If it's not a shadow card, you'll pay attention to what's above the line for shadow. Hopefully that makes sense. Now what I do is I decide, is anyone going to defend this attack? Well, definitely I want to defend the attack. I don't just want to take the damage. He's going to come at us with 3 attack, and what we do is we can defend with 1 character. We can't defend with multiple characters. So I can defend with Snowborn Scout, and what we do is we compare the attack to the defense. And even though that says 2, remember for this round only it's a 3 because of the +1. So 3 minus 1 would be 2. He has 1 health, he would be dead. Aragorn could definitely take it. Any of these guys could take it and not die, but we don't want our heroes to take too much damage. However, Glowin has this ability. When he suffers damage, he also gets resources placed on him, which is pretty good. I'm not sure I want to do that to him yet, but I think I'm going, well, let's look at what it's going to take. Sometimes we want to look ahead and see how much we want to give to our attack to decide how much we defend. He has a defense of 1 with 4 health, so in order to take him out in 1 round, I would have to deal 5 damage to him. And I can do that with these 2 guys. But I think for learning purposes, I'm not going to do that. I think just to see what happens, since I'm not playing this to the end of the game, it's okay if I don't win. I'm going to have Glowin defend. He exhausts to defend, so he won't be able to attack when it's our turn to attack the Forest Spider. And he's contributing this 1 defense. Now what I do is I flip this shadow card and see, does it have a shadow effect? If it didn't, I would just discard it. But it does, and it reads, the attacking enemy gets +1 attack. It would be +3 attack if the attack is undefended. It is not undefended. He is defending, but this Forest Spider goes from a 2 to a 3 to a 4. He's a 3 because he just engaged this round. He's a 2 as a base, and then we add another 1, which makes it a 4 attack. We ignore everything else about this card other than the shadow effect. So he comes at Glowin with a 4. With a 4 attack minus his 1 defense does 3 damage. And that is probably more than we really want to do to one of our heroes right up front, but what are you going to do? So he has 3 damage out of 4. If he takes any more damage in this game, he's out of it. Now, there are ways to heal characters. I don't really think there are in this deck that I have right here. So this isn't looking good for him. However, he has this ability that when he takes damage, he adds 1 resource to his resource pool for each amount of damage taken. So he took 3 damage, but he also gets 3 resources. That's pretty great. We're ending this round. We're not to the end of the round yet, but we'll be ending this round with 4, at least, well, possibly 4 resources. We have We have event cards we could play, but that's okay. 4 resources, and we're going to get, assuming he's still alive, we're going to get 3 more at the beginning of the next round. So this is pretty good. So that's it. That's the enemy attacking. Nothing more happens. We discard the shadow card, and then we get to attack. So now we look, and again, like I said, he has 4 health. He has 1 defense. So if we hit him with 5 damage, or I'm sorry, 5 attack minus his 1 health, his 1 defense, that's 4 damage, which is enough to kill him. So Aragorn has 3. Actually, you know what? I could have done this. Oh no, I couldn't have. No, because he has 0 attack. So he has 4 actually himself. He has 3 attack plus 1 because of this valiant sword. So he's going to exhaust, and he contributes 4 attack. But oh wait, well I made a mistake here, didn't I? What in the world was I thinking? Oh no! I knew what I was doing. I knew I wasn't taking him out. That's for learning purposes. Yes. So he contributes 4 minus the forest spider's 1 defense is 3 damage to the forest spider, not enough to kill it. So what happens? He stays here. He does not go back up to the staging area, so we don't have to worry about his threat in the quest phase, but he is going to attack us again in the next round. We remain engaged with him. Now, if there were other players, other monsters, we would go through this for a while, but there aren't. We've done everything there is to do. So now we go to the refresh phase. And this is where we ready our players, or ready our characters, our cards. Sometimes attachments get exhausted, allies, heroes. Anything that's exhausted gets readied, which is a good thing. But then we also increase our threat by 1. So we are now up to 30, and that's not a good thing. That's going to happen every round. That's a round. That's how it goes. Simple as that. Let's go through another round just to see how it continues. So we go to the next round, and we start with the resource phase, and we add 1 to each hero, and we draw a card. And then we go on to the planning phase. There is no hand limit in this game, so you can absolutely keep multiple, or have as many cards in your hand as you need. I'm going to do some fun stuff now just because I can, because I think probably this round will be enough to show most of what we need to know. So I'm going to pay two resources to bring in, oh, I don't know, let's bring in Angbor the Fearless. He costs 2. He has an ability, but that has nothing. It's not relevant right now, so we don't worry about that. I still have 5 here. I'm just going to do something fun. I'm going to bring in another ally. I'm going to bring in Gandalf. Now, Gandalf isn't someone you want to play lightly. In a real game, I probably wouldn't be bringing him out this quickly. Gandalf is very powerful, but he also only stays out for 1 round. It tells you that at the end of the round, discard Gandalf from play. He's going to go into my own discard pile. Now, happily, I have 2 more Gandalf cards in this deck. You're allowed up to 3 of the same card in a deck when you construct it. So there are more Gandalfs. But let's bring him out just for fun. We have no resources here, so we're not going to be able to use Aragorn's ability, but that's really okay because we've got a lot of power here. Now, Gandalf, when he enters play, I get to do one of 3 things. I get to draw 3 cards from my deck, or I can deal 4 damage to an enemy. That could be this guy. Or I can reduce my threat by 5. Now, you know, I don't really need to do him damage because he's almost dead. So I think I'm going to reduce the threat by 5. So this 30 goes down to 25, and that is pretty cool because then when we reveal cards from the encounter deck, if there was one that was 30, he won't necessarily engage with us. Or 25, or 26, 27, 28, or 29 for that matter. If it's 25 or less, they will engage. So that is the planning phase. I don't have any more resources to spend, so I have to stop there. So I go on to the quest phase, and I decide who is going to commit to the quest. Well, I am going to, I am going to, oh boy, I'm going to say Glowin for attacking. I'm certainly not going to defend with him, or he might be dead. I'm going to exhaust Gandalf and contribute his 4. And Angbor here, I'm going to contribute his 2. And that's it. That's it. So I've got 6 willpower contributed to the quest. Currently, there's only 1 threat in the staging area. Remember, this does not count anymore because it's no longer in the staging area. It's engaged with us. So I've committed 6 willpower to the quest, and now I reveal a card from the encounter deck. And it's a 3 threat. It's Ungoliant Spawn. This is actually a pretty important card in this scenario. When revealed, each character currently committed to a quest gets -1 willpower until the end of the phase. So what that means is this 6 becomes 4 because Gandalf's 4 becomes a 3, Angbor's 2 becomes a 1. So now it's only 4 willpower contributed to the quest, which is equal to the threat in the staging area, which means I don't get any progress on my location, let alone my quest card, but nor does my threat go up because they are equal. So there we go. That wasn't too bad. Could have been better, but it wasn't too bad. Sometimes you might have an event card that you could play at that moment and say, oh, hey, I can cancel that when revealed effect or something like that to make those bad things less bad. Now, one thing I'm going to show right now, sometimes it's not a monster or a location. Sometimes it is a treachery card, which isn't going to add threat to the staging area, which is a great thing. But bad things happen with those. So that's the other option that can happen there. So now we go on to the travel phase. However, we can only have 1 active location at a time. So this Old Forest Road is not completed. It still needs 2 progress tokens. We cannot travel to this Old Forest Road until this one is cleared. So we kind of are at a standstill. That's not that big a problem, except for the fact that, remember, this threat goes up every round, and we need to get through this quest deck before it hits 50. So it's not a race, but we're going to see how that threat can go up in multiple ways and kind of make us more urgently trying to complete our quest. So with that, we go to the engagement phase. And now I can optionally engage Ungoliant Spawn. He is a 32 engagement cost, and I'm only at a 25. Even if I hadn't brought in Gandalf and lowered my threat, I wouldn't have to engage with him. So what's the deal here? If I engage with him, that's dangerous. I'm facing a lot of potential harm between these 2 guys. Notice he has a 5 attack, a 2 defense, and 9 health. He is powerful. But if he stays up here, he's contributing 3 threat to the staging area next round, which is not a good thing. So it's kind of hard to decide. Let's just have some fun and optionally engage him, since I'm just playing this round and then we're going to stop. So he engages, and there's no one else to engage, so we move on to combat. We deal the shadow cards, and we do it in descending order from highest engagement cost to lowest. So Ungoliant Spawn gets the first shadow card, and Forest Spider gets the second one. And then, as the player, I get to decide the order they attack in. So I'm first going to do something fun. Oh wait, I don't have a resource. Darn it. That's a shame. Let's cheat and say that I did. If I had this resource, I could pay this resource to play this event, Ever Vigilant, which says choose and ready 1 ally card, and I could ready Gandalf, and he would be very helpful in battle. I'm not really going to cheat, so I'm not going to play that event, but that would be an option in a case like that. So let's just say we're dealing with this really big bad Ungoliant Spawn first, and let's have poor Snowborn Scout defend against that. He is not going to survive this. So we flip the shadow card, and there is a shadow effect. There isn't always. You'll see Old Forest Road doesn't have one. And this says choose and discard 1 attachment from the defending character. Now, not the defending player. If it was a defending player, I would have to get rid of Aragorn's sword, but it's a defending character, and Snowborn Scout does not have an attachment. If this attack is undefended, discard all attachments you control. It is not undefended. Snowborn Scout defended. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned, if I didn't defend, if I said, you know what, come at me, Ungoliant Spawn, I'm not defending, all of the damage goes to one of the heroes. So that's not good. We don't want to do that. As much as possible, we want to defend attacks. So we don't really have to do this math, but Ungoliant Spawn comes at us with a 5 attack against Snowborn Scout's 1 defense. That's 4 damage, a lot more than he needs to die. So Snowborn Scout is done and goes into my discard pile. Then Forest Spider is going to attack, and I'm going to have Aragorn defend against him. I think. Yeah, 2 defense is pretty good. Although, Theodred. Yeah, let's use Theodred, because he's only coming at us with a 2. Remember, he doesn't get his extra attack anymore. So Theodred's going to exhaust to defend. I flip for a Spider's Shadow card, and there is no shadow effect. So nothing happens there. And then we resolve it. 2 attack against Theodred's 1 defense is just 1 damage. He can take that. So 1 damage on him, and there we go. Then what we do is we get to attack them. Now, we can have multiple characters attack, as we saw in the last round, or I guess we didn't. They were all exhausted. We could have multiple characters attack, but you can't have multiple characters defend. So they can team up together to attack one enemy, but they can't team up to defend against one enemy. Only one can defend. So let's deal with Ungoliant Spawn, because he's big and gross. So Aragorn still has his sword, so he is a 4, and Glowin is a 2. So that's coming at Ungoliant Spawn with 6 attack against his 2 damage or 2 defense. So that is 4 damage on Ungoliant Spawn. There's a 3, and there's 1. It's not even half of his life. He is tough. And I don't have any more characters to attack, so Forest Spider would then live on for another round. I probably wouldn't really play this way. That would be a really stupid thing to do. This would not be good going into round 3. But there are a couple of keywords that make things interesting with combat. Aragorn has this Sentinel keyword. Some characters have range. Sentinel means that he can defend against other players' attacks. So if Ungoliant Spawn was engaged with a different player and attacked them, Aragorn could use his Sentinel to exhaust and defend as long as he's readied when that attack happens. And range is kind of the opposite. Ranged characters can attack enemies who are engaged with other players. Most of the keywords and things, there aren't a lot that need to be memorized. There's one in here, Surge. That means, so if I, let's find one. If I reveal a card from the encounter deck that has Surge, I'm sure there's one in here. Maybe there isn't. Guess not. So if it says Surge, if I reveal this, I do the stuff it says, but if it says Surge, I then have to reveal another one. And if that one said Surge, I'd have to reveal another one, and it would go on. So that can get nasty. So those are the basics. Then I would go on to the refresh phase, ready my characters, up my threat by 1, and then we go into a new round with the resource phase, where each hero gets a resource and we draw a card. Then we go questing, then we end revealing from the encounter deck, location, traveling if we can, which we wouldn't be able to, engagement, and combat, and so forth. So that's how the game works. The goal here would be to get 8 progress tokens on here, in which case we would then go on to the next quest card. It would tell us how the rules work for that one, and this one calls for only 2 progress tokens, and we would go on until we reach the end of the deck. That's the game. That's how it's played. This is the introductory scenario, so pretty basic. It introduces new things as you progress through the game, but that's it. That's how it's played.